Okay, we're going to go ahead and do a watercolor wash here where it says wet on dry. Be completely dry before we can complete this particular technique. So I'm going to do the color block method. You can do the direct application method. It's completely up to you. A layer of water, not too wet, but wet enough for the watercolor to soak into it. And I've already got a color that's been activated here, so I'm just going to go ahead and do like a little dip and flip here and just start adding some color. I want to make sure that it's a nice, complete, even wash. Although, depending on what you're painting, you may want it to be a blended wash. It's completely up to you. If you want to try doing a blended wash on here, you're welcome to do that as well. So we're going to just let that dry. And while we are letting that dry, I'm going to go ahead and show you about this one here, which is called, now for Crayon Resist, you're going to need to use a little white. And so I'm going to go grab one of those really quickly, and then I'm going to come right back. So Crayon Resist is really interesting because you can use a white crayon to sort of cover up areas where you don't want watercolor to be. You can use Crayon Resist on top of a wash that is already dry, and then add some crayon in an area that you don't want the second color that you're applying on top to cut. In this case, I'm just going to apply a little white crayon here and paint over it so you can kind of see the effect of it. And you want to press pretty hard with the crayon. These crayons that I have are actually a little old. They don't resist quite as much as maybe a brand new crayon would. So if you're using the crayons in my class, make sure you press really, really hard. If you're doing this from home and you have your own brand new set of crayons, you may not need to, but you'll just experiment and find out as you do this practice activity. So I'm just going to kind of apply my crayon. Oops, it broke because I'm pressing so hard. Okay, just a little bit. I don't even know what I did because obviously I can't see it. If I were doing this on a already dry wash, then I might be able to see it a little bit better. But anyhow, I've got my crayon, and now I'm going to take my paper towel. I'm going to take a color. I think I'll do a blended wash on this just because it's kind of fun. I'm going to take a little bit of green, do the direct application method. You can kind of see where my crayon is on the paper. I'm going to stop there though, because as you can see, it didn't show up. All of it didn't show up because that crayon's kind of old, but all these little white spots here, that's where I applied the crayon. And it's a nice effect. Again, this is really good if you want to block out an area, or even if you just want to add like a type of a starry night, for example, and you want the white to show through to be sort of stars, you could do it that way as well. So this is called Crayon Resist. Okay, Crayon Resist. The next one that we're going to do is called the rubbing alcohol method. This one is a lot of fun. The rubbing alcohol method is really good when you are wanting to do like, I don't know, a lot of people use it for like maybe a galaxy scene, something that has like a sort of marbled effect, if you're thinking like the Milky Way or something like that. Or if you just want some really cool kind of effect. The thing with rubbing alcohol though is you've got to act quickly while your watercolor is still wet, okay? And you want to make sure that you use a darker color. So I don't find that this works as well with colors like yellow or maybe even yellow-orange. I'm going to go with a darker color, red or a purple and a blue, just to kind of show you. You're going to need just a little bit of rubbing alcohol. And again, if you're in my class, you'll get a container like this. If you're doing this at home, then you'll have to find, something at home. And you're not going to need a lot. I'm just going to pour just a little bit in there, just like that. Okay? I mean, it's not even an ounce probably. Okay? And now I'm going to go ahead and do a wash. And I'm going to do a direct application wash for this one. I'm going to use this beautiful purple color here. I'm just going to start adding it. I'm probably going to do a blended wash, so I'm going to clean that off and get a little bit of this sort of magenta color and have it just kind of go together like that. I may even add another layer. It's nice and damp, and that your color is fairly dark. We're working with maybe like a 50% opacity. Now, with a separate brush, okay, a separate brush, I mean, you could use the same brush if you want to, but I like to use a separate one. I'm going to use one that's a little bit more flexible. Just going to get it wet a little bit, kind of dry it off some. I'm going to dip it in my watercolor, and I'm just going to touch my existing watercolor. I can even just kind of let it drip also. Just kind of, it's a really, really cool effect. It'll soak into the paper a little bit, but that's okay. So you can kind of see what's happening. It's just kind of spreading, and it makes these really cool, like, explosions, so to speak, on the paper. It's a really, really nice effect, and this is a lot of fun for abstract work because later you could go around it with a pen and you could kind of map out some of the shapes that you see and add to them, and it's a really, really nice effect. Okay, so we're still waiting for these other ones to dry, so I'm going to end this particular tutorial with this. You can go ahead and do your crayon resist and your rubbing alcohol, and when we come back, we'll work on Frisket, and we'll possibly work on the gradient wash, because I think these two might be almost dry.